up on that. It switched the max value to 4. But it isn't updating the callback, and I can tell it's not updating the callback because the callback has a closure around the mesh, and it's not updating the mesh. So I guess I do have to do set callback. So if callback in widget config, I have to do what was it? Set item callback. Item callback. Your PyGUI core set item callback. Whoops. Come on. And that'll be the name, and then I'll have to have widget config at callback. And then I can delete the callback. And then I can configure everything else. So hopefully now I can do this. I can rerun, which is not defined. Oh. Please. Yeah, this was just the wrong line that I copied. I want to copy this line. Configure item. Here I want name. Here I want star star. Okay. So that works. I can rerun this. Great. Nice. I can switch. This shouldn't even be here, but it also, yeah, this is bound to a totally different mesh. So it makes sense that that doesn't work, but it should disappear. And then I bring this back, it works again. That's great. That is dandy. Actually, is the demo? I guess there aren't. That's confusing. Okay, wait, let me look at this some more. This is just like all this different stuff you could do. I guess there isn't. That's handy. I guess there isn't something to just be a new line. I guess there are borders. I don't want to get too much into styling this. Oh, there are new lines. I think. Maybe this is just being sized to be the same size as these. I'm getting sidetracked. This seems to have a bunch of new lines. Simple tables. That's neat. But let me go to the simple tables example. Like a grid view, yeah. I was thinking, I think there should be a separator here. Because these two options, the rerun and the scene you select, those are like fundamental to Manim. They're different from the user selected ones. So even if I can't do a new line, I think a scroll, even if I can't do a new line, I think a separator would still make sense as a file selector. There's a lot of neat stuff here. I'm getting super sidetracked. Okay, simple tables. I'm going to see if this has any logic for doing a new line. Or doing a new line. If I can find that string. Simple tables. But I can't. It might be like a flex relative positioning of some sort, like it will make a new line if you fill this. If you need to fill up the remaining space. Yeah, it could be. But then like, I was wondering why there was one of these where it shows a certain one to be on the top of the table versus the bottom, but whatever. I'm gonna get super distracted just playing with all of these. Look how neat it is. And there are bars, like, I feel like Manim would not actually need these. Okay. Add column. Go back to terminal base, either incurs or ANSI. Manim has reached the point where a GUI will be super useful for it. It adds a row to the end of a table. So I guess you'd have to start a table. Okay, forget it. I'm not doing a new line. I'm doing a separator. Okay, that seems really straightforward. The parent this item will be added to. Let me try just go into the GUI code and write here add separator. Okay, I think a new line would be better, but that'll do, I guess. Also, window options is a weird thing for it to say. Also, can I make this? I should make this open by default. So let me see if I can do that. What is that? When I go to the collapse, was it collapsible header or something? Why can I never? Sing header? Header. It says closeable, default open. This is what I want. So for this, one-man bike shed session. Yeah, such is the life of a software engineer. Gotta optimize those values that don't actually matter to optimize. Okay, I think this is pretty good. This shouldn't say window options. That's a really weird label. I think I can just remove this. And it might default to the name, scene widgets. Okay. And then if I replace this with this with config selected scenes at 0. I think this will give me the name of the scene. Nope, it'll just crash. Bro? I think this will give me the name of the scene. Nope, it'll just crash. Oh, scene names at 0. Okay, so then it says mobject test. Okay. I think that makes sense, unless I wanted to say like mobject, maybe mobject test widgets. And I messed something up. What did I do? Oh. Cool. So that works. The updating is not complete. So if the name is in the current objects, this will update them. Here I need an else. Because if not, I basically have to do this. I have to add that widget in. So get the name, get the widget, remove those. Then I'll add that. And then I need, for all the current items that haven't been checked, so I need something like updated items. And here, I'll do updated items. Dot like add the name. Then everything here, I have to do like the set intersection. Then I'll have like to delete equals current minus updated. I don't know if that actually does set difference, but it would make sense. So it's some items, and they're not included in the updated items. So these I have to delete. Then I guess I can just do dear PyGUI.core dot delete item or something. Don't know if that's how you do that. Great. So maybe now when I run it, when I switch this, it didn't work. And it crashed. Oh well. What do I want? Them theme.py and gui.py. Well, something about that crashed. All this seems like it makes sense. So this is what worked before, right? This lets me switch without crashing. Great. Okay. So this is saying, oh wait, current items. If name isn't, wait, for widget config and widget, if name is in current items, okay, then I do else. So now the name is not in current items. So I don't have to do this. Wait, does this even make sense? Name is the widget config at name, so that makes sense. If that name isn't already on the screen, That's when I update it. I won't need the widget though. It's not already on the screen. Then I'll have to add it. Okay. So I'll do PyGUI core add whatever the widget's called. And then I'll give it its name. Then I'll unpack the rest of the content. That looks safe. That looks correct. I'm a big fan of using Manim in a notebook. Also, I'd be pretty happy. Then I'll unpack the rest of the content. That looks safe. That looks correct. I'm a big fan of using Manim in a notebook. Also, I'd be pretty happy lifting those widgets such examples and porting them to Jupyter. What would be the implications of that? Like, can you run Jupyter locally? Yeah. Is it in a browser still? Is it in a browser when you do that? Because, like, there are a lot of benefits to working with Jupyter. But, the PyGUI... Okay, the benefit of using IMGUI and PyMGUI is that eventually, there's all kind of native routers, but essentially it's a web service, okay, is that eventually it'll be possible to render the scene into one of these windows. So the same way you have these that are just GUI things, there'll be one that'll have this scene inside it, and it'll be way more convenient. And so that's the benefit to using this. Now, it's probably possible to have it set up in Jupyter such that you'd have your animations over on one side, and then you have Jupyter widgets. But supporting both of those, having this compatibility between Jupyter and PyGUI would be kind of annoying. So I guess that's where I am with that. Yeah, Manim's in this. I probably have to think more about how to make Manim into a way that's accessible with the web. Because I know there's that service that Google provides where they'll provide you a GPU. Notebooks are the vanguard of literate programming. There's like in Colab, I think that's where they give you a GPU. Yeah, they give you a free GPU. And you don't need a good GPU to use. They won't give you anything crazy. But you don't need a good GPU to use Manim. But this isn't like... This isn't an IDE, right? Jupyter? Would it be something where you have an IDE on one side and then Jupyter on the other side? There's some pretty advanced shit you can. With the VS Code. And then it's probably possible with other ones. In IntelliJ Atom. The question is... Wait, here's the thing. If Jupyter is running in a separate window from Manim, how will Manim render to the canvas on Jupyter? If that's where it renders at. Right, it'll need some sort of IPC or something to communicate with it. If I'm understanding this correctly. This should work, just deleting them. Current items minus updated items. I should be able to switch this. It's not... Yeah, it crashed. That's super annoying. But do you know a way for it to communicate with the canvas? I can find some showcases. Well, I mean more on a technical level. Okay. So I guess this isn't how you delete things. Okay. So I guess this isn't how you delete things. Like GitHub repos. Okay. That could be helpful. I don't know why that would crash. Deletes an item if it exists. That looks even safer. I don't see why that would crash. Current items. That's just the list from... It's not trivial. Yeah. I think without compiling Python into WebAssembly, there won't be a... You'd have to like write your own wrapper code or something to render to a canvas that isn't in Python, or that you can't get a handle to in Python. I don't know why this deletion isn't working. Column, data, dragline, node, item. Is item something weird? Let me just print what it would be deleting. Wait, that's a lot of stuff. Oh! There are all of these items from the demo. Jupyter is in Python. We're good on that, right? You mean like OpenGL. Jupyter is in Python. So this is what I mean. If Jupyter is running in a browser, then it must have a canvas that's tied to that browser. And if Python can't get a reference to that one, which I don't think you can communicate to a data structure which exists in a browser from Python, then I don't think it'll be able to render to it without having a server, but you can output matplotlib. Okay. I think probably have to look into it some more. Because like in the renderer, somewhere, basically you need this context, I think. This context that comes in with basically with the window, you get this context, and then you use this to render everything. They find some edifying example. It's pretty sophisticated, especially with Python. Gotcha. That would probably be better if you could develop it in a way that would just like be shareable with a link. But I don't know. I guess I'll have to think more about it. There could be space for both of them. Like, this GUI isn't meant for the end users of the scene. It's only used for the people who are developing it. Because why would you? For the end users, they should just scroll or whatever on the screen, and you can hook up whatever callbacks you want to things on the screen. And so it could be that the developer would use this GUI, and then the end user could potentially use a Jupyter GUI. There's something nice about a dedicated GUI. What do you mean by dedicated? Like they can be doing different things. If you get what I mean. Okay. What was I doing? Oh, I was trying to figure out why this deletion. Okay, so there are too many things to delete. So I think this will have to keep a list of the Manim related items and only delete those. I wonder if, so I think this will have to keep a list of the Manim related items and only delete those. I wonder if I can just put a list up here. And they'll be like Manim GUI. And then rerun. And then selected scene. Gotcha, I see what you mean. There's probably a way to work both of them in. Okay, and then like whatever widgets. And this will be added dynamically. Right. Oh, this is just a window, so I won't want to delete that. Oh, maybe this is how you delete. Maybe a window is included in item, so you can just delete and then pass the name of that. Does that do what I want? Not yet, because I didn't filter anything out. Actually, now I want to try again to see if I can delete a window with delete item. So this, if this is called, has this name, then maybe when I do this, I could have a variable called previous scene window, scene header. Then when I do this, I can copy it here. Didn't mean to distract too much. I think the math, these communities are partial to Jupyter as like the main way to discuss and stuff. I think it's the primary target audience. Yeah, I think it'll definitely be useful. I think, because like what wouldn't be, I think it wouldn't be too hard to output something which could then be run. No, actually that could be pretty hard. Because like here's what I'm thinking. What is crashing here? Oh, I can't have this here. Because if you run a scene, there are other advantages potentially to having a GUI. Well, the question isn't about having a GUI, since it's going to have a GUI no matter what. But it's like where that GUI should live / which GUIs to have. But I have this previous scene header. I'll update it here. And then I'll try to delete that window here. I mean PyGUI. Since people expect UI stuff to be extremely polished. Oh, you think PyGUI will be a heavier lift? It could be. Like, the thing about it just does a lot of good things already. And that's why it makes me hesitant to just take it out completely. You'd be saddled with maintaining. Well, that's not true.